Anybody who knows this show knows of our respect and affection for Robert B. Parker. Bob was on here with us 3 times and was scheduled to be here about a month before he left the world. And after he left, his wife, Joan Parker, became a good friend of this program, and we miss her too. And we talked to Bob and have read every Spencer book ever written, every Jesse Stone book, every Sonny Randall book, the Everett and Virgil books. Our buddy Ace Atkins took over the Spencer that series and has just killed it every time out. And Reed Coleman got a phone call one day about writing Jesse Stone. The new book called Blind Spot returns Jesse to his rightful place as a troubled, regretful, somewhat angry, and somewhat lonely fellow. It's great to meet you. Welcome to town. Memphis is a lot like Long Island, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely just like Coney Island, as a matter of fact.
You're from Brooklyn and live in New York, and are on a tour for this book. You've written 21 novels and different series. I have my first book in the Mo Prager series, The Hollow Girl, and it is excellent. And so you kind of jump around, and you don't. You're not really married to one kind of genre. You write poetry and you write novellas and novels, and have been doing this for a long time.
I write anything anybody will pay me for.
Well, at least you're honest. Tell us about how, after all these years, that you got a phone call to write the Jesse Stone books. Now, these books were written by a fellow who worked with Mr. Parker on the screenplays, and I think he lost sight of this character at some point.
Certainly took the edge off the character.
Yeah, because Jesse has a life full of regrets about his baseball career, his ex-wife, and so on and so forth. And you bring those things back to the forefront immediately. And so I guess you knew Bob's work, obviously, and knew these books. And so you got a phone call, and tell us the story.
So I'm laying in bed one afternoon, and it was actually 2 weeks after I'd finished The Hollow Girl. And that was the last book in the series.
Yeah,
so it's like,
I know.
okay, what am I going to do now? So I'm sitting there thinking of, as all writers do, those books I've always wanted to write.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I had no contract. So as I'm watching television and my agent's number crosses the screen on my TV, and it's never good when your agent calls you late in the afternoon, and then he asks me, "Are you sitting down?" That's also not anything you want to hear.
Yeah, no, I'm laying down.
Yes,
David.
I'm laying down, David. He said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "If you don't want me to reach through the phone and strangle you, tell me what you have to say." And he said, "Would you like to be Robert B. Parker?" And I hesitated for about a nanosecond and said, "Yes, when do I start?"
Mm-hmm.
Because who wouldn't want this gig?
Right. So I haven't really asked any questions, and we can't ask anybody really, but who made the decision to move on from Mr. Brandman to you?
I don't know that. I've never met Michael.
Yeah.
It was a tough thing to do. Like, I'm not a screenwriter.
Right.
And it would be tough for somebody to say, here's a job, go write screenplays.
Right.
And I think they based the decision on giving Michael those 3 books because he wrote good screenplays.
Right.
But it's a different form.
Yeah, totally different.
It's as if taking somebody from TV and putting them in radio.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it translates.
No, it's a totally different form. Well, Jesse Stone, these books were turned into movies, and they were on CBS for years. And Tom Selleck was a perfect choice. He became Jesse Stone.
Yeah, I can't read a Jesse Stone book without seeing Tom Selleck doing
Yeah.
the action in my head.
And unfortunately, CBS chose not to carry on with this, which is unfortunate. But this character is he has a great weight on his back, which he carries. It's a very heavy thing for him. And I guess you read all these books or already knew the books.
Both.
Yeah.
I read them and reread them.
Yeah.
So, because I wanted to try and capture the tone of the earlier books.
Yeah.
Like Night Passage, the first book, was a brilliant book.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's Jesse Stone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Jesse Stone who I want to write about.
Right. The guy with the poster of
Ozzie Smith.
Ozzie Smith on his wall, and too much scotch, and he misses his wife Jen, He could have been a Dodger and played baseball in the big leagues.
He
but
could have been a contender.
He could have been a contender,
Well,
but now he's in Paradise, Massachusetts.
It's like our friend Ace Atkins, who writes, the Spencer series. He grew up reading every Spencer book,
Yeah.
and that was his inspiration. He says for a lot of things, and then to be asked to continue the series was mind-boggling for him. And the fact that Robert B. Parker's nickname was Ace
Yeah.
also had a little bit to do with it.
That kind of
too.
worked out pretty well.
Yeah, well, it wasn't Reed. His nickname wasn't Reed.
No, it was Ace, and and he's done a great job. So you had a meeting or a story with Tom Selleck, you said, because he embraced the character
as
very
you guys
well.
would jokingly ask me, had I met Tom Selleck, and the fact is that it is a frequently asked question of me.
I bet.
Because a lot of the fans come to Jesse, they come to the books through the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the first questions they ask me, and the answer is no, I've never met Tom Selleck. But while I was on tour, I was invited to have dinner with Bob Parker's best friend for over 50 years, a man named Mel Farman. And we ate where he and Bob always ate dinner. And there's a plaque next to his bar stool, Bob's bar stool, and with his name on it and a little thing about Spencer. And so I sat there and had dinner with his best friend Mel. And Mel told me a very interesting story about what Bob thought of Tom Selleck. He said that Bob got teary-eyed when he would watch Tom Selleck do Jesse Stone, because he felt he was so perfectly cast as the character. And as any writer will tell you, that rarely happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That very rarely happens. So
Hollywood
Bob,
can mess things up
Yeah.
quickly.
I'll- sorry.
No, Reed Coleman is our guest. The new book is called Blind Spot. Jesse Stone is back in action. So Bob was just completely thrilled to have, well, Tom nailed that like nobody's business.
Yeah, he did.
And Ed Harris did the same thing with that book, he and Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah,
And-
Appaloosa.
And I guess Robert Knott will still keep writing those books.
I
Is he
believe
on
so.
some?
I believe so.
So you're on for 3 more, right?
At least.
Very good. Very
Yeah,
good.
I hope they let me write it for a very long time.
Now, your other stuff, you've written a lot of books. Tell us about the Mo Prager series, because I read 2 chapters and went, wow, this guy is really good.
Well, Mo is a former New York City uniform officer who gets hurt on the job. As he calls himself, he's nobody's hero because he hurt his knee slipping on a piece of carbon paper. Now, most of the audience has no idea what carbon paper
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It makes copies, kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he's a guy who's kind of lost in the world, and he goes into the wine business with his brother for lack of anything else to do because he's retired. The NYPD has no more use for him, and he then only realizes then how much he misses the job. So he becomes a private investigator, and he's a kind of stumbler and bumbler, but manages
Take a
to-
drink on
yeah,
occasion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once in a while.
Right.
He drinks Dewar's, not Black Label.
Right.
And he's just he wears his heart on his sleeve, unlike Jesse. The only thing Jesse ever wears on his sleeve is his sleeve. And Mo wore his heart on his sleeve. They're very different characters, and that's fun for me as a writer, is to write different characters.
Right. Now, there are 9 of those, and you chose to kind of end it with a Hollow Girl. What leads you to wrap one up? You're just written out about it?
Well, I can tell you guys have interviewed lots of writers because you understand what happens. It gets played out.
Yeah.
And as you guys have read Blind Spot, I'm a baseball fan.
Yeah, obviously.
And there's an
yeah.
old adage in baseball: it's better to trade a player 2 years too early than 1 year too late.
Right.
And I never wanted to hear the whispers from fans, he should have ended that series 2 books ago.
It's why James Lee Burke has, jumped around. It's why Baldacci has 3 or 4 things going at once. Because I'm not sure if you get bored is the word, but you just kind of write the character out.
Or you go crazy like Dean Koontz and start having golden retrievers writing it up for you.
Well, it's an interesting phenomenon. I built the poison pill into the series because I aged Mo in real time.
Yeah.
And with the Hollow Girl, he's in his mid-60s, And even he says the only thing he can flash anymore with any credibility is his ARP card.
Reed Coleman is here. Now, the other books, the Gulliver Dowd, Dylan Klein, there are many others. Do all these characters carry something similar? I have not read them yet, but I intend to.
Yes, they carry the weight of me on their shoulders.
Your own personal troubles
Yes.
infiltrate their
Yes.
lives.
Well, one of the things we ask a lot of the authors that are on this program is how they go about their writing. I know Ace has an office just to get away from the house and leave, split up time between when he's got to work and when he's got to do his
After
thing.
he runs his 10 miles every morning.
Right, exactly.
Wink,
But
wink.
so do you write it out of your house? Do you have a different place to go to, a different way of getting your head right for
As
it?
I was telling Mike, my literary escort, this morning, I have a 10-foot commute.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's the bedroom door, the bathroom door, and then my office door. It's so I really my day is very simple, and routine is really important to writers, as
Yeah.
you guys know. It's coffee, the paper, the crossword puzzle, and writing.
Yeah.
And about 3 hours straight of writing. Then I go play basketball. And then I come home, edit, and write a little more throughout the day. I'll go in and out of the office and write, but the big bulk of my writing is done in the morning.
It must be a little bit different for you to not create a character, but to inherit one that has already been firmly established. That was a challenge, I assume, and you had to kind of dig deep to reinvent Jesse a little bit. And now you have to take him, because this book ends on a cliffhanger like no other. It's like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, I know that was sneaky of me.
That was pretty sneaky. That was pretty sneaky.
Yeah.
But you inherited him and all of his foibles and had to embellish them and make them grow. And now you got to do that, more.
Well, it was both a challenge, but it was also a gift,
Mm-hmm.
because look at the character I was given.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to Mike again this morning. We were talking about the fact is that when you read a book, you care about the character. You don't care who wrote it. No one reads a Lee Child book. They care about Jack Reacher and
Right.
think about Lee. They think about Jack Reacher.
Right.
No one reads a Moe book and cares about Reed Coleman. They care about Moe.
Right.
So it was a great gift to be given Jesse Stone, because what I say is he's a perfectly flawed character.
Mhm.
There are perfect characters, there are flawed characters, and then there's guys like Jesse Stone who were perfectly flawed characters.
Because a man with no flaws is a pretty boring man.
Well, I haven't met one.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I've met some boring men.
Yeah, the more troubles you have, the more fun you are usually. Is there any chance that these things will be revived for television, or is the demo just too old?
Well, when I call Tom,
Well, yeah.
Right. But next
Tell-
time you're
yeah,
on the phone, Tom,
yes.
tell him we said hey.
Yeah, yes, tell it. Yeah.
I now I've heard this rumor, so it's a rumor, and I can't confirm it because I don't know Tom Selleck, but I've heard that he loved doing the Jesse Stone movies, that he would like to do another, and that
Oh, they're
he's kind of-
5 or 4 or something?
6, I think,
okay.
and that they're kind of shopping. He's trying to shop a package around to see if somebody will take it. I mean, I hope that's true for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Sure.
But at least they've signed you on, and I'm sure Ace has a contract to write many more. This has been tried before, and not many people have pulled it off. Mario Puzo's, they tried 2 of those Godfather books. They were Ludlum and the Bourne series still continues. But this one seems to be the most successful of these attempts.
Well-
Years and Aces and
Well,
Nice.
I'm happy to tell you that on next Sunday's New York Times bestseller list, Blind Spot will be number 11.
that's awesome. It was a 25 yesterday in the national paper,
Well,
which is
that-
a pretty good entry for if it's of the top 50 books in America.
I'll take it.
I think it's just great. And so, are you on this endless tour of American cities to meet people that don't know what you're doing, but just
Go
wanna
around
share-
and talk to the media who haven't read your book and have a few
Yes.
ideas of what to ask you.
Wait, let
Like,
me-
have you ever met Tom Selleck?
Guys, let me look at my cue card to give you that answer. Yes, well, I'm happy to say that I've never been to Memphis before. I like it a lot, and it's my last tour stop. So
Wish you had been here earlier so we could have given you some more, push for the event last evening. But The word will spread. We'll make sure of that.
Yes, it usually does.
So how quickly will you be cranking these things out? One a year? Is
One
that
a
your
year.
plan?
One a year, yeah.
Because Ace does one a year and then writes a Quinn Coulson and then goes back to that.
Same deal.
Schizophrenia, I think, is part of his gift.
Yes, Putnam has signed me to do my own series too, so it'll be a
Yeah.
similar deal.
And you have a new one I read somewhere coming,
Yes,
don't you?
it'll be featuring Gus Murphy, a Suffolk County, Long Island, a retired cop, has a family tragedy, and it's 2 years after the tragedy, and he's still grieving. He can't bear to live in his house. He can't bear to sell his house, and he's working as a courtesy van driver for a hotel near an airport, and somebody, a petty thief, comes to him and asks him to help solve the murder of his son, and it's through that, those reluctant efforts to help this man, that Gus finds his way back into the world, and the book is called Where It Hurts.
These titles of yours are just great. You know, what is our ongoing fascination with cops and PIs and their bad behavior and their awful lives, and what leads to such great writing and great books? How many people have written about cops and PIs? And I mean, it's just endless, but we never lose our fascination for that.
No, and I also think some of the best literature produced in this country is actually crime writing.
Yeah, oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Well,
Without
because
question.
writing about accounting would be boring.
Well, there's that.
Well, that's my next series.
Numbers by
Right.
Reed Coleman. Well, we wish you all the best. I wish we had some more time to hang out and discuss all this stuff. But come back and see us sometime, will you?
I absolutely will.
ReedColeman.com is the website. All the books about his life, and Jesse Stone, the new one is called Blind Spot, and he has brought Jesse back to where he should be, troubled and drinking heavily. But hey, who wouldn't? Thank you, and very best to you, and hope to see you again.
Thank you, and I hope to be back soon.
Reed Coleman. We'll be right back.